do that for Pretty Lights.
Yeah, let's
shit's too good.
So for those watching on Spotify or listening, we're testing what happens when I try to do this. When I try to do a live stream and a recording at the same time. Oh, it does say I'm live. It does say I'm live. Do you see it on your end? I don't know if it's gonna if anything is gonna pop up though. We're just going with the flow of things over here.
Yeah. When we think we got technology figured out, we add another.
There's another curveball. Yeah.
Let's see.
It says
there was a little Spotify link that popped up. So I'm assuming Twitch and Spotify have a little relationship, maybe?
It must be something like that.
Yeah.
It says that I'm live, but I don't know. I don't see anything.
Yeah. We're live. Mm-hmm.
Can you see us on there?
Yeah. I mean, my phone's... Okay, hold on. Before we get massive echoes up in here. But yeah.
Cool. All right, well, I'll leave it. Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Totally Biased Music. It's Blake and Anthony. We got kind of a three-parter going on today. So we have 2 Tycho albums, Weather and Simulcast, and then we're going to talk Ford versus Ferrari after the fact. So Anthony, you picked the Tycho albums. So tell us why you picked these albums.
So I love Tycho. Tycho is it's the brainchild of Scott Hansen coming out of California. And really up until that point, so Weather comes out in 2019, Simulcast comes out the year later. But really up until 2019, Tycho was purely instrumentals. I mean, it's a real ethereal sound, really thought-provoking, emotional kind of music. And this Weather EP album project, it can fall in a lot of categories, but this one was the first one to feature prominent vocals. Saint Sinner is the vocalist on the album, and it was really a change of pace, right? So the reason why I wanted to bring this is just because of the listening experience of being able to kind of compare and contrast the different projects and the similarities within some of the songs, right? Weather coming out the year before really was an interesting take for me first go around, and we'll go deeper in a moment. But it was something that I read that Scott really wanted to solidify a project that really showcased the human voice. And I think that was, very well done throughout that album. And then if you look at these 2 albums together, it is obviously you can draw straight lines to tracks, but there's also identical tracks. There's 3. So Weather being this kind of bridge between the tracks. It's the last track on Weather, and it's the first track on Simulcast. And then they're identical. Easy is another one that's really interesting because they're exactly the same. It opens with Easy on Weather, and then middle to halfway on Simulcast it's on there. And then Into the Woods also being like a direct parallel with being it's the 4th track on both albums. So this has been a fun week for me because I listen to Tycho regularly, and these albums are of course thrown into pretty much every playlist that I have. But it was so much fun because I have a turntable upstairs and then downstairs, and I have both of these albums on vinyl. So basically, I was just swimming throughout both of these albums for the past few days.
Nice.
Literally just flipping the record, press and play, just going about my day. And it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation to have, given that the albums are so similar, and Tycho deserved to come here at some point. So it was fun to do it this way, but there's so much gold that we haven't even touched with Tycho yet. But what'd you think? First time, what's your relationship with Tycho?
So I know a little bit of Tycho, and I'm like 95% positive I've seen Tycho at some point. I want to say it was, honestly, I thought it was at Euphoria, that festival in Austin.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I don't remember if he was there. I know I've seen him before, but I don't listen to a ton of Tycho. Based on what I just listened to, I really should be listening to more Tycho. But it was definitely a new experience, and I didn't know what to expect going into it. And like, there are definitely similarities here, and we'll get into it later. Spoiler alert. Like, I like Weather so much more than I like Simulcast, but Weather is, the project being like a way to showcase the human voice. I think like his music goes really well with this chick he has on it, Saint Sinner, who I don't know.
Yeah, she's amazing, and
Yeah,
she
and
does
her
a lot of
voice,
collaborations too.
yeah, her voice is fantastic, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really, really it goes perfectly hand in hand with Tycho's music, and so
Yeah,
I found myself repeating songs before
hell
they
yeah.
were over, like going back, and so I don't dislike Simulcast. I think it's good, but I found myself revisiting Weather and the songs on Weather way more than I did with Simulcast.
Yeah.
But there's just he's got a very unique sound, and I don't know like his other albums. Like I thought Tycho was like a house artist, but I guess that's not
Dude,
what he'd be classified as.
like it's funny that you say that because I think my first introduction to Tycho possibly could have been one of the. So he's notorious for playing Sunrises at Burning Man and also releasing those sets after the event, obviously. So if you ever listen to those mixes, they do have a lot of housey elements to it. And that was not it wasn't a turnoff for me. It was just more of like okay, if that's what Tycho is, and I'll kind of like let it do its own thing, right? But then you come to find out that that's just a DJ aspect of Tycho. When in reality, I think the Tycho project is best experienced, as a full band. When he
Yeah,
performs as a full band, and and Saint Sinner will perform with him too, it is like I don't know. It creates a whole nother atmosphere to the music, and I think
yeah,
that is like whether you call it ambient, whether you call it atmospheric, whether you just call it electronica, it really does touch emotions. And I think you couldn't be more accurate about Saint Sinner. When Weather first came out, it was like for me may have been the second or third Tycho album that came out when I was very much like Tycho was on my radar. So
right.
like a new album's coming out, I'm fucking stoked. I'm like, let's dive into it. And the vocals really threw me for a loop the first months or so that I had to marinate on this album. It was really a live performance that I saw of Saint Center performing with them, and it really like clicked. And like since then, I've really gone into Weather and gone into the vocals, and I think that it is it's interesting how vocals affect a listening experience because now you have more context to dig into versus instrumentals where it's really wherever your mind chooses to go while you're listening to it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
it was really weird for me.
you're saying you didn't really like Weather until you saw it live?
Yeah. I mean, it was like I was very undecided on it. I
Yeah.
wasn't like sold on, damn, I could really get behind this Tycho project in full. But no, I'll tell you, I saw Saint Sinner perform Skate, and it was very much because the context of the concert too. There was like a pinnacle point in the show, like she had come out saying, I'll find the concert and I'll send it to you. It might have been actually in Japan or a Mount Fuji festival or something like that, perhaps. But I actually have a lot of live Tycho in the archives,
Yeah.
but that song really set it apart for me because it was so emotional and so like it just sucked me in, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm melting right now just watching it on my TV, and really from then on it was like, all right, I'm in on this project in that sense. But then when Simulcast came out, I was like, all right, this is like traditional Tycho in a
Yeah.
sense compared to Weather, and from then on, it's like, oh, it's the best of both worlds for me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you listen to the Weather Remixes album?
I have not. I really haven't given it the time of day, and I probably should. But what was there certain artists that remix that stood out to you?
No, I listened to a little bit of it. I don't want to give away my favorite songs
Gotcha,
yet, but I
gotcha.
went and listened to my favorite songs, like the
Mm-hmm.
remixes of those songs. And yeah, there's some good ones on here. Obviously, like I prefer the original, but I think
Right.
I don't know, man. I just really like. I was instantly hooked on Weather. Like I really think it's like the vocals almost had an opposite effect on
No, I
me
get
that
it.
they seem to have had on you. Like Saint Sinner is really what pulled me into the album. And his music is, I'm just like kind of clicking through songs as we're talking, just from different albums, and his music has a very, it does have a very Burning Man Sunrise feel to it, right? Like it's very melodic and creative, and it's really really cool. And I need to commit more time to it. But he was, I've known of Tycho for a long time. Same thing with like Com Truise actually has a remix on the remix album, and he's more of like a housey artist. But Com Truise I've seen before, and I had no idea who he was. I want to say he opened for
Euphoria.
Nectar.
That was
was it? Yeah. And the Com Truise show was great, and like I went into it completely like no expectations, didn't know anything about him, and he threw the fuck down. So it was really entertaining. But yeah, I'd like to dive more into Tycho. I'm glad you brought it to the pod because it was a nice entry point to it. Like you said, it's all about introducing Blake to new music. So hey, the plan has worked.
Hey, well, that's the thing. I was talking to Trey incognito about this approach. In reality, it's like I'm very, when it comes to exposing people to art, there is an art to doing that in a sense, and I'm by no means perfect at it, but I think there is a way, because I think about myself, and if like there's one way to introduce me to something that hooks me, and then there's another way to, like, if you try to pressure it onto me, I'm kind of like turned off by that. But I'm figuring out a system, and like this, like Weather in particular, like I said, I think it caught me off guard with the vocals, but over time it's really grown on me. And then I thought, okay, because there was a song or two that I was gonna potentially bring on for a ride or die, and then I said, no, let's do it this way, because like, when else can you do it like that? Because you hadn't heard either of these albums before, right?
Yeah.
So that's a wild experience to have, I feel. So I'm really glad to hear.
I think how I'm going to get you into new hip hop music is I'm going to invite you to sell art at an event.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to play aggressive hip hop music all day, and you won't be able to leave.
Trap me there. Just trap me there.
Exactly.
One method.
All right. Well, let's get into. So, what do you want to do? You want to break them up, or do you want to go at it as a whole?
Well, so I think it's fair to go ahead, and for the listener's sake, I want to list out the tracks and their companions, just so people have it, whether they have to dig or figure it out on their own. Because some of it is pretty diverse, but so we already said Easy, Weather, and Into the Woods are the same tracks. There's no differences within that. But then you got Pink and Blue and PCH. You have Japan, and you have Cypress. You have Skate and Outer Sunset, For How Long and All Right, and then No Stress and Stress. So just for the listener out there taking notes like I was, you have that framework now. But I think we could talk maybe like favorite tracks from Weather. We'll start with Weather, and then we can do like just a couple, because there's only 8 tracks. You don't have to do full 3 unless you want to. But what stood out from you in Weather?
Well, so it's all of my. I had 3 top songs. There's not a lot of songs I don't like. Like it's
right, exactly.
They're all so enjoyable to me. But like, so Pink and Blue is number 3 for me, because I didn't know how the vocals were going to be in this album. Right, this is the introduction to Saint Sinner and her singing, and this is just like. It's such a peaceful, enjoyable song. Like the melody is really nice, and her voice is so soft, and it's beautiful, and it's just like I don't know if you got this, but like Simulcast to me almost has like I don't want to say depressing, but it has like a sadder, slower energy to it to me than Weather does. And Pink and Blue is like, it's just happy, it's upbeat. I love like her voice and the way she works on this beat. She's great, man. And this music is really great. And I like the breakdown about halfway through. It kind of, the beat doesn't really change, but he dumbs it down a little bit, lets her sing, and then it picks back up further into the song. So it kind of gives you that lull, that break, and then goes into it. Number 2 for me, Japan. Japan is such a blast. And like, and I don't know, like her vocals are, the context of like the lyrics are really interesting to me. Like a lot of them are they're kind of sad. It's funny that I say it doesn't feel like a sad album, but some of them are like kind of sad.
You.
Right. Like Japan is about someone coming home from Japan alone.
Right.
And just this experience that they have. But basically to me, it's like her falling in love with somebody, right? And telling them what she can do for them. But yeah, it's a really, really good song. And the lyrics are great. The music is great. He's really subtle in the song. Tycho is really subtle. Like the beat is very low key compared to Thinking Blue. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's more of like a Saint Sinner song. That's what it feels like. You know, he lets her kind of showcase her ability.
Yeah.
And then the final song, best song on Weather, best song of both albums is No Stress. No Stress is so good. And No Stress, like, so there's lyrics in here, right? It's a lot about death, right? It doesn't make you feel right.
Yeah.
Don't guess, because we're too young. Some of us are already gone.
I've lost friends for way too young.
Yeah, lost friends way too young. And like that resonates with me. Obviously, you know that Kristen and I were very close, and losing her was really tough. And I think about her constantly. And I have other friends that I have lost to whatever it may be, drugs, things of that nature. And I wasn't as close with any of them as I was with Chris, but the song, like, it made me emotional, but it's the overwhelming theme of the song is no stress, right? Like, this is life, you keep living, and those people are gone, but they're still, you feel them and remember them in the sunshine and the moments that you spent together. And I think overall the message is positive, but it is depressing if you've lost people that are close to you, you know? And I think, like, I've been thinking about Chris a lot. I don't know why recently. And this song, like, it kind of was just the right time, right place. I don't mean to get too deep and emotional with it, but you know, it's anything like that really, really reminds me of her. And then after listening to the song, I went back and, like, I don't listen to Mac Miller a lot because it's really hard for me because he's gone. And like, I listened to this song and it kind of reinvigorated me to be like, look, embrace this. Okay. Be happy with what you still have. And I went back and went on a little Mac Miller tear these past few days, and it kind of just gave me hope. You know, it was great. So I love that song.
You know, I think that's that's why I listen to this type of music, you know, is that it can send you on mental journeys, right? It can give you inspiration after the fact. It can be hard to digest, you know, and I think sometimes heavy and sadness get intertwined, you know, when in reality it doesn't have to be that, but it also is okay to address those emotions, you know. And I think you're right on with so much of these interpretations of the vocals, right? And I think there's an arc within Weather. Like if we look at just the tracks that she's featured on, which, by the way, she reminds me, if you ever look her up, she reminds me of Lisbeth from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Really?
Like, she's a gangster. She's a little skinny, frail, but badass woman, you know?
Yeah,
and she's a, and there's some good songs that I'll go ahead and say, everyone can look up this track called Chameleon, Saint Sinner and Ataya, who's another super producer like Tycho, and it's banger. But like, let's look at these tracks. So Pink and Blue is like a lot of these are relationship centric songs, but there's an arc. It's like, I look at Pink and Blue as kind of this comparison, you know, it's like male and female, and it's like you and I, and what jives with us. Then you got this Japan where it's kind of like an exodus or a return, however you want to look at it. Skate is such a beautiful, mellow, like, let's just sink in the moment. For How Long is an interesting, like, I call For How Long the Zendaya track now because it's like you don't like to share, but I do, and I like more than just you. It's like, it's just interesting, like, I don't know, mental headspace it puts me in after seeing Challengers. And then you have No Stress, which I do think is like the hopeful kind of wrap up to her featuring into this album.
Yeah.
So there can be an arc there, but like, it is such a fun journey to go on, and that's the beauty of this type of music, is that it's always there to go back into it if you're feeling that way, or if you want to get something out of it. So I'm so glad to hear that response from you. So glad I didn't even write down any of those tracks. Will you say them again?
Yeah. So 3 is Pink and Blue, 2 is Japan, and then 1 is No Stress.
Beautiful. Okay.
But what about you? What do you got?
So Similar. I got Japan at number 3. I just fucking love that. No Stress. I feel the same way. You know, like the hopeful message within it, but also the sick underlying backbeat. It's like growling in the background
Yeah.
of that song. It's just so clean and so interesting to listen to. But number 1, I have Skate, man. And like I said, there's just such a like I resonate so much with the lyrics and the moment that's created of like you're in a car with someone and there's you want to have a conversation, but also you just soak in the moment, soak in the sound, like bask in that, where you roll down the windows and just let the moment happen.
This is very like this whole album. Both of them are very windows rolled down, 70-degree day in the sunset,
Dude.
riding on the highway. No traffic. Yeah. Don't kill my fantasy with there being any traffic. Open fucking road. Open road.
Yeah, exactly. All that construction you're dealing with over there in Colorado.
Well, like, you know what's really funny is when I first listened to Japan, I was like, dude, I can picture listening to this song and riding the motorcycle through the mountains, like going up to Breckenridge. That was like the first thing that popped in my head when I heard that song. I was like, this is such like motorcycle riding music.
And snowboarding music, you know, like like I feel like Tycho fits into so many different angles of like active lifestyle, whether it's driving or walking the dog or running, you know, or traveling or commuting, you know, like that's the thing. It's like you find songs that fit into these moments and you build playlists around them, you know, like Tycho's probably a reason why I have like a cruise playlist, you know, because like that vibe is very like clear and it also fits into a lot of different scenarios. But yeah, Skate is totally that for me, you know, it has that feeling of just like soak it all in and vibe and go with the flow.
Yeah.
Versus trying to control a situation. Yeah. So, and I don't have any, like I said, I don't have any real bottom tracks. You know, the only gripe we could have would be hoping that there would be more vocals, perhaps, you know, on the other tracks. But I think it fits into what this, if you look at this whole Weather Simulcast project in itself, I think it works for me. So really no massive complaints at all on it. Maybe it could be longer. You got that right?
Yeah, I definitely have that gripe, man. Like, I wish that, and the thing is like, to me, there's also, I don't know if you saw Riley down here. I have Riley and Ruby in the room with me today. I don't know if Ruby's on the bed. She's somewhere in here. This is their first appearance on the podcast. So
hell yeah.
Riley's very excited. They could have made, there's no misses on this album on Weather. Like, and maybe part of the reason it's so good is because it's only 8 tracks, you know, and there's not like room for it to go on too long or you to lose the interest in it. But I could have done 12 tracks of this, dude. Like,
that's the thing.
I need to listen to Jess.
Have
you listened to Jess Saint Sinner, like her songs or her albums?
She doesn't have much content, like solo content out there, like from a production standpoint, but she features a lot. And she will put out singles on Bandcamp mostly, or at least that's where I get the notifications. Shout out Bandcamp for being like the most solid artist supporting platform, I think. But like I said, features with other producers, that I think is like the most ideal Saint Sinner project. Like I said, Chameleon is a great track, and it has an amazing bass to it also.
Yeah, I do want to say, because I didn't want to spoil it earlier, but the remix album, so the Japan remix is Satin Jackets remix, who I don't know, and very, very enjoyable. And then No Stress is the Calm Shrews remix. So I thought that was a good combination, and I like the original better, but it still is really good. So you definitely should go, if you haven't listened to the remixes, just go poke around and see what you like. I mean, the artists on here besides Calm, I don't know like any of them because I'm not in that world enough, but there's some really good ones.
Fuck yeah.
All right, well, let's get into Simulcast now. So I want to say, like, I like Simulcast, and I've already said I like Weather a lot better. This album is like, I do like the parallels between the two. I just didn't like, it wasn't as inspiring and exciting to me as Weather was. So it was like, I didn't revisit it to the same level as as I did Weather, so I'm not going to have as in-depth of thoughts. I do have songs I like, and I do have songs I don't like on here that I want to talk about. And I do like the similarities between the two that you were mentioning. I think it's really cool what he did and how he did it.
Yeah.
But I don't have the same emotional response to it as I did with Weather, you know. But what did you think? If you had to compare the two, which one did you enjoy more?
Well, that was the thing, you know, like Simulcast-esque, like Tycho, that kind of instrumental is what brought me in, and that's what like I resonate with so much because I can get lost mentally in these tracks. When you add vocals to a track, it changes it obviously, but like mentally it shifts to where now you have like things to dissect even further, right? And you have things that you can grasp onto, um,
Right.
which is not good or bad. It's just I think just a fact of how you can take in that type of art. Um, but like I said, Weather has grown on me big time, you know. But if you look at, I think you can look at Tycho's instrumentals kind of like you would all these progressive bands we've talked about over time, where it's like once you can figure out where these songs are going, then you can kind of get more deeper into it. But like Tycho is feel good, you know. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
vibe music. It's like hard to say you dislike it. Now, for me, there are certain like rhythms that can kind of catch me off guard or be a little too fast for me in that moment. But like, I do love the introspective stuff. But honestly, it's hard. Like for me, skate and No Stress really do sit up here when in reality everything is up there. It's just like those two vocal tracks stick out for me big time. Um, but I do love just cruising with the instrumentals. You know, like
Yeah.
that's the thing. I really resonate with that big time.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's really, really talented. His music is
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cool, and it's super unique too. And like, I think there is within Simulcast and Weather, like, there's two different scenarios where I would be listening to these, but they both have their place. And I think like if I spend more time with Simulcast, I would probably feel more
yeah.
passionate about it than I do. But I was just so tied to Weather that I couldn't get off of it, so
I
I
get it. I
just
get
kept
it.
going back to that. You know?
And I think that did like I had the opposite effect. You know, when it came out, was like, okay, whether I like it, I don't get it at that time, right? So then Simulcast came out the next year, and I was like, oh, freaking hooks on, and like it's just leaving mental residue with me all the time. And then I saw that set, and again, I wish I knew it off the top of my head, but I'll find it and send it to you because it's on YouTube. Lots of live Tycho is out on YouTube, for folks listening. But once I saw that, then I gravitated back towards Weather, and then like I said, this past week I've been basically weaving in and out of both, and like, oh, it's been fucking
Yeah.
great. It's been
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got for top tracks on Weather? There were
So
simulcasts.
yeah, so Simulcast top tracks. Number 3, I have All Right. I just wrote Guitar Bliss. You know, it's hard to like notate when these tracks are going because you just like how do you grasp a thought and put it on paper? You know, it's like
Yeah,
you take psychedelics and you try to come back and explain to someone what you just experienced, and it's like it's
yeah, you
ineffable.
can't.
Yeah, exactly. So like this type of music has that effect too. But like All Right sticks with me big time. I love Weather too. I didn't put it on my top tracks, but I like the song. It's beautiful. Um, but number 3, I have All Right. Number 2, Outer Sunset. It's just tonal cruising, so good. Just it feels so beautiful.
Yeah,
Um, and then number 1, for this simulcast, I put Cypress. You know, it's similar to Japan with the rhythm in it, but it has a very nice back and forth feel to it. So
yeah.
yeah, so those are the ones that stick out to me.
No, very fair. I have number 3, Cypress 2.
Oh yeah,
And like it is, I would be interested. I need to listen to them like side by side because
it's hard.
it sounds so similar to Japan, like the instrumental part of it. So I wonder
Right.
what he's changing, how much he's changing. But it does. It's the same exact like cadence, same BPM. Yeah, and so it's very reminiscent of Japan. So I like Cypress a lot. And then number 2, I had Weather. You know, intro
Oh
track.
yeah.
I think it's great. You know, it's a feel good song, and it's kind of like along that same vibe of just cruising around, man, cruising around on a nice day and listening to some Tycho. And I don't know, very like I said, the album, like, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe I just didn't listen to it enough, but it does feel more, I don't want to say dark. Like, dark's not the right word. It just feels more like sad to me than Weather does. And I don't know what it is about it. I think there's just some undertones to it that are giving me that like subconscious thought process to it. But Weather to me is like, it's like an introspective song, right? It's a kind of a journey in itself, and it's very peaceful, very, very peaceful, which I like. And then number one for me was PCH. Have you been on the Pacific Coastal Highway?
Dude, I've not been to California, and like,
oh shit, really?
Can't wait. I've not been further west. Well, I went to Oregon. I've been to Washington too. So like, haven't been to Nevada, Arizona, California, New Mexico. That whole area of the country I've yet to explore. But I've seen the PCH and like dream of driving it, and it's like so serene and so special. Have you been?
Yeah. Tell me. What happened was, this is actually in relation to Kristen, when we went to see Nectar at that festival in Oakland. This was years ago. It was my first trip to the Bay Area, my first trip to San Francisco. I went with her and two other bass heads, and I met up with her in LA, and then we drove up to San Francisco. So we popped onto the PCH, and yeah, man, it's beautiful. And I would love to go back and ride it further, ride it longer, because it was kind of out of the way. So we didn't take the whole thing, but like, it was beautiful, and everything. Like, man, everybody can say what they want about California. I don't give a fuck. Like, California's beautiful. Everywhere. Like, I spent a bunch of time in San Diego. I spent a bunch of time in Los Angeles, the Bay Area. I love California. I love the scenery. I love the beach. It's the Pacific Ocean. I'm not trying to shit on the Atlantic Ocean or anything, or the Gulf.
Right? Yeah.
The Pacific Ocean it just looks so like, it's just mighty, dude. It's powerful. It's cold. It's just dark blue. Like, there's just something about it that, like, it's almost like so you haven't been in the Grand Canyon, I guess, then.
Correct.
If you haven't been that far, but like the Grand Canyon, I tell people this all the time. It was like the first almost like non-psychedelic, like existential dread that I've ever had, because like I saw it and realized how small I was in the grand scheme of things when you're looking at something that is natural, that is not man-made, and it's fucking like, you can't even put into words. Pictures don't do it justice until you're there looking at it. You don't realize how big it is. And that's honestly like how I feel about the ocean when you're in a place like California, and it just goes on and on and on, and it's so dark and it's scary but beautiful in a way. It's the same way I felt about the Grand Canyon. So yeah, PCH just kind of brought me back there, and it's just a nice reminder, nice vibe. So very, very enjoyable.
I love it.
Again, and I know this is kind of a buzzkill, but I don't really have any like bottom tracks for it. Like, I think they're apart from those three, nothing really stuck out to me, but they weren't like bad songs, right? Like, I wouldn't put them in a bottom three, because they just don't evoke that emotion in me where I'm like, I don't like this song.
Hard to be angry or annoyed in listening. Like, Tycho is an art project that brings you out of those kind of holes of emotion that might be a little more, antsy or stressed or like, this is the medicine, like, this is the therapy. But like, I don't think any songs make you want to change the track. Like, you're in it, and like, that's the thing. Like, that would be a funny like quote to say. It's like, there's no next track button when it comes to listening to Tycho. It's more repeat. Like, just repeat the whole album again, or shuffle it, But that's the thing. It's like, even without, like, you don't have to go in order. You can bounce back and forth. You can play a track here and there, and I think it will fit into that moment that you're experiencing right then.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you brought it. I will say, when you mentioned Tycho, because I didn't know what type of music it was, I was like, this seems a little weird coming from Anthony. Like, I thought Tycho was more housey, but now listening, it kind of clicks more. It makes more sense. I'm like, this is definitely up Anthony's alley.
Hell yeah.
So I'm glad you brought it. It was really enjoyable. I encourage everybody listening or watching to go listen to these, but also just listen to his other albums. Like there's I think
Awake,
there's
Dive, Horizon might be another one. List them off because there's Epoch, Awake, Dive are the big ones.
Yep, and then Weather Simulcast.
Those are the two little ones. Pass's Prologue is the first one, I think.
Yep, Pass's Prologue. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, like every album is like a masterwork, you know, and like that's the thing. We're gonna go there in time, obviously, but like everything he touches is just so special, you know. And I think it also speaks to how much he cares, but also how much attention to detail he has, you know. And he's gonna put out a new album. I don't want to misspeak and say the fall, but sometime soon. He's definitely like he posts periodically on Instagram on not Twitter, but probably Instagram mostly that you know, progress is being made, and he'll release a track here and there. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I encourage everybody to go listen. You'll find the right environment, the right place to listen to Tycho. There's he's kind of versatile in that way that you can fit it within whatever scenario you're in at that time, you know?
Right.
All right, but let's get into Rides or Dies, and I want you to intro your track first and explain a little bit what's going on here.
Well, do we want to both say we're giving this 10 out of 10?
Let's you know what? I'm here's the thing. I'm comfortable giving Weather a 10 out of 10. I'll give Simulcast an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Well, I was going to give them both individually 9 out of 10, so we'll average it all out to two pretty damn good albums, I'd say.
Yeah,
right?
very much so. Very enjoyable.
Okay. All right, so I'll give you some the context for my Ride or Die. So, dude, this is just a track where like you can play the first few bars for hip hop heads from 2009, and they're right back where they were, and that's me. And I wanted to bring a hip hop track to the podcast.
Just to let everybody know that you do actually listen to hip hop occasionally.
Like, dude, that I'm not ignorant to hip hop. That is for damn sure. But like, there was a time and place for me, and it was between 2005 to 2010 where I was like, all right, I'm balls deep in this. You know, guys like Young Jeezy, Pastor Troy, Lil Scrappy, those guys. That was, and Wayne, of course, Eminem. Yeah, that time period. That was when I was very invested in it. Going to websites like Dat Piff and Hot New Hip Hop, it's like, fucking give it to me, give it to me, dude. So like that was my time, to really go into it. But like Lil Boosie was one that very much resonated with me a lot, because I mean that was our house party music in high school, So it's like that type of solid hip hop that is just, you don't really have to listen to the vocals, the beat's gonna carry it. But this track, Mind of a Maniac, like I said, you play those first few bars and it's like, oh. This is also, there was a time when I would very much download instrumentals of hip hop. This is one of those tracks too, where like, if you were to just listen to the instrumental, plus we would all get stoned and freestyle over them. So like, luckily nice. no one was recording back then, but like fucking hilarious white guys in suburbs of Alabama. Right. But you listen to the instrumental of this track and it's so cool, 'cause it's like very melodic. There's a flute kind of playing, like some sort of wind instrument in the background. It's very subtle, but I fucking love this song, man. And it's also like Boosie divulging his kind of story, where like that, take it or leave what you think about Lil Boosie in general, but like at this point in time, it was very it was a fucking cool thing. So, what'd you think?
So fuck,
easy.
Teleporting back in time, I saw Boosie, and you probably did too.
Oh yeah,
I saw him in New Orleans at Buku, 2015, and it was in the tent, or I guess it was the indoor stage they had, and it was fucking wild, dude. I mean, he's insane. So, but yeah, like Mind of a Maniac, great song, fucking banger, dude. He's crazy. Like I honestly. am gonna enjoy this. It's right up my alley. So good pick. I was shocked. I was shocked when you sent it.
Oh, Blake, we got so many ways to go, but like I said, we got surprises, so hell yeah, more to come.
for sure. Okay,
yeah.
so
Yeah, you got a surprise too.
I picked "Heaven Is a Place on Earth" by Belinda Carl. I don't know how to say
Carlisle.
it. Carlisle. There's an S in
Yeah,
there, but
yeah.
yeah,
I think that's it though.
yeah. So I mean, "Heaven Is a Place on Earth," fucking classic, just a feel good song. And I woke up this morning and I cooked Amanda and I a nice American breakfast, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, and I just had this blaring throughout the house on a speaker, like no shirt on, still in my pajama pants, my Wook pants, and I was just vibing out, cooking breakfast, man. And it also, I don't know, did you watch Black Mirror?
Yeah, oh
The
yeah.
So San Junipero is like one of my favorite episodes. It's widely
Mm.
regarded as like one of the best episodes of Black Mirror. Um, but this song plays a shit ton in that episode.
Is
And it's
that
that
one's like a beach with the multiple like reality type feel, or
yeah, so it's like different. It's basically a couple reliving like a
gotcha.
relationship,
Mm,
like two women reliving a relationship, and then you learn at the end. Spoiler alert if you guys
yeah.
haven't seen it, but at the end you find out that they're living it basically virtually, like they're living it
Right,
in
right.
their head.
Gotcha.
And such a good episode. One of the back when Black Mirror was really good, and one of those reveals that you do not see coming. And
Right.
this is like the main track of that episode. So yeah, fucking love it. What did you think?
Yeah, dude, it's a great it's a great song, you know. It definitely is 80s, you know, it's quintessential 80s music, but not the I prefer this over, let's say, AC/DC. You know,
Yeah, that's fair.
I went to the Birmingham Stallions game on Saturday. Shout out Stallions going to the new leagues championship, third year in a row. Anyway, I was with my mom and dad, and I'm talking to my mom about just the music that they're playing, and I tell her as we walk in, they're playing. I think it was Thunderstruck, you know. But
Yeah,
I told her, I was like, God, all this '80s music, like it hasn't changed in 30 years. Stadium music, you know.
yeah,
But they're playing, and I'm like, they're gonna play Metallica, they're gonna play AC/DC, they're gonna play all these, you know, old songs, and it's like, when does that shift? Like when does
when are they
contemporary
still playing
music
Fall Out
enter?
Boy?
Not even. It's just like I don't know at what point. I thought it would have been close to now, where like this older generation is kind of fading out, but sports is a different story. Like sports are in it for life, you know. And it's like I don't know when somebody infiltrates the stadium press box to start playing some decent
Yeah,
shit, you know.
yeah,
Like that's all I want is like decent shit, and all you have to do is play loops. You don't have to play more than 30-second loop, you know, before kickoff or at a
right.
timeout or something. But it's like, God, if I have to hear fucking Back in Black one more time, you know, like,
Yeah,
please, like, come
yeah, that's
on.
fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
But yeah, I love the song, dude.
Hell yeah.
She's
Dude.
also the lead singer of the Go Go's too, which I've not ever really listened to a lot of the Go Go's like knowingly, but I recognize the name. I know it's a pretty big deal
Yeah,
for a female led band in the '80s. So,
yeah, for
oh
sure.
yeah.
Cool. All right. So, movie wise on the docket, we got Ford versus Ferrari. So, for those of you not in the racing world, if you want to be Le Mans, the 24-hour race that this movie is heavily based off of, starts this weekend, Saturday, 8 a.m. Denver time to Sunday, 8 a.m. 24-hour race. Drivers drive in 4-hour shifts. But this movie is about Ford trying to build a car to contend with Ferrari at Le Mans in the late 1960s. I believe the movie is 67, maybe, because they won 4 years in a row. I think it was 67, 8, 9, and 70. I could be wrong on those dates, but Christian Bale's in it, Matt Damon's in it. And it's just the story is great. The sound in this movie, the sound of the engines and shit is great. It's a thrilling movie, and I've seen it a few times, but we rewatched it again, and I told Amanda, I was like, "You're gonna hate the ending, just so you know," and she
Yeah,
absolutely
right.
did, and was pissed that I made her watch it, but she really enjoyed the ride. So, what did you think? Was this your first watch?
Yeah, first watch, really interesting. You know, I had texted you and I was like, "Is it Ferrari, the Michael Mann film?" Which that's what I thought it was. But then when you said Ford versus Ferrari, I'm like, "All right, no knowledge of the context of the film," so I was completely open to it, and I enjoyed it, man. The real conflict in this film, though, to me, was the inner conflict between Ford and Carroll Shelby. It's like there's and the driver who's Christian Bale's character, like that
10
was,
miles.
yeah, that seemed to me like the real guts of the film versus Ferrari was this kind of like looming figure, and maybe it's just because they hyper focus on the Ford dynamics, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the ending too for me, I was like, damn, and then I had to look it up, to see if it was see what the facts were, of the story, but but Christian Bale does a great job,
Dude,
of being that
good in
guy
this
of like,
movie.
like you just got to accept this guy for what he is and trust that like he's a fucking gangster and he can drive a car and he knows it better than anyone.
Yeah.
But you gotta love people like that who are just unapologetic upon fuck it. They're gonna be themselves wholeheartedly, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what money is thrown at them or what shot at their ego is being taken. Like he's just gonna do it because he knows he's the person to do it.
Yeah.
So Christian Bale's an amazing actor too.
Yeah, he killed it, and I thought like there's so many good scenes in this movie, and like there's so many scenes that put you on the edge of your seat, like when he starts Le Mans and his fucking door won't close, and he's driving the lap trying to close his door, and you're like, dude, you're like, please, somebody fucking get it together. And like just the one scene where he's practicing at night and he wrecks, and you think like, oh shit, he's gonna die, and he gets out, and then like just like I don't know, I loved one of my favorite parts was the end where after they fuck him out of his win, basically, and he looks up and Ansel Ferrari just like kind of gives him a head nod, like, yeah, they fucked you, and just like, rolls off.
You had us. Yeah, like you had us.
Yeah, but it's so Ferrari, the movie that you're talking about, Ferrari takes place right before the timeline of Ford versus Ferrari. So it's like a few years prior to that when obviously Ferrari is struggling financially, but then they win Le Mans. And that movie's also phenomenal. But I thought like Ford versus Ferrari, the car designs, like seeing that process is really cool. And like you said, I think like that internal struggle amongst all of them, and that guy from Ford who's just they made him so unlikable. They do such a good job. Like,
yeah, he's just a cunt throughout the whole film.
Throughout the whole fucking movie. And like I told Amanda that she was gonna hate it, and then when he's driving and he slows down, she's like, "Oh, that's not that big of a deal." I'm like, "Just wait." And then like when they fuck him out of the wind, she's like, "What? Like no fucking way!" And then like the ending scene, so gut wrenching when Matt Damon's like talking about basically becoming one with the car, and then you just see him go over that loop and die.
There was one line that I don't know the actor's name, but one of the like guys on the team says, sometimes they don't get out of the car. And like, I was so conflicted with that line in particular because, earlier in the film, when he does get out of the car, Ken Miles is having a moment with his son saying, like, if you get out of the car, it's going to be okay or whatever. But like that line could be so interpreted in different ways. Cause like sometimes, accidents happen. I get that. But then also I looked into it in a way of like, the way he said it and the context of it happening right then was just so, it just left a weird taste in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, why even say it? But like, I get it. It's a film and like, there's a moment of a line to happen. But yeah, that just really like, whoa, I was like, God, why did you have to say that? But anyway, it's whatever. But are you a big car guy? Like, did you grow up loving cars and knowing cars and shit?
No, not at all. I recently started, like, I'd say probably 2 years ago, I started watching Formula One, like, casually because a bunch of my friends were into it. And then this past year, I've been watching it a shit ton. I've been watching pretty much every race. But the time zones are all fucking out of whack because they race in all over the world. But I've watched a shit ton of F1, and Amanda's into F1 as well, so we try to watch the races together. But F1's in a weird state right now. Like the Red Bull team is dominated like completely to the point where it's not even really competitive anymore. So it hasn't been super enjoyable. But I've never watched GT racing. I've never watched Le Mans, any of that stuff. And so because we watched the movie, I looked it up and saw that Le Mans was coming up. So I really want to watch it just to see like that dynamic and what it's like and the cars and things like that. But I'm not gonna I'm not gonna front and pretend like I'm some big fucking GT like super fan or anything, but I do want to watch it, like because I enjoy watching, any type of racing it has become more entertaining to me. I remember like as a kid being like, how do people watch this? Like it's just people going in circles for fucking hours, but now like actually tuning in and watching some of it, it's been a lot of fun. So I would like to watch it and see kind of what it's like now, and those cars, like it's crazy. They looked so advanced in the 60s. Like they look like fucking supercars. And now I'm interested to see what they look like, now. So it'll be interesting, but
I get that.
Yeah. I'm glad you liked it. And you should, I don't know if I would bring it to the pod, but you should definitely watch Ferrari when you get a chance. Yeah. Because, Adam Driver plays Ferrari, plays Enzo Ferrari, and
gotcha.
He's phenomenal in that movie. He does such a great job, and I like him a lot. I like his career a lot. He's been in some questionable films, I'll say that, but I think he does really, really good in the movie. So
yeah. Do you know where you can watch this Le Mans race?
No, it's not like readily accessible. It's probably going to be something I have to illegally stream. But if I find one,
hey,
I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, like it's an unfortunate thing. Like I have big gripes, of course, with access to stuff. Where it's like shit. Even the local, Shelby County website for news, it's behind a paywall. You get like 2 sentences of an article and then you have to continue reading. I'm like,
fucking ridiculous.
I just like shut my computer. I'm like, what the fuck are we even doing? It's like, it's more, you're turning me off way more than I would ever want to invest in, that outlet for art. But it's same thing with sports. It's like, if I have to jump through hoops to be able to watch the Saints game on a Sunday when it's 2 hours away, it's being blacked out it's like ridiculous,
Yeah.
And everything should be accessible at this point.
No, for sure. And what's like really, really fucking annoying to me is like when I pay for like NBA, I'm getting on a tangent here that has nothing to do with this podcast, but fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
Get it out.
Like, if I pay for NBA League Pass and I can't watch the Nuggets games, like I pay $140 a year and they black out one of the teams that I watch. I'm like, what fucking sense does that make? Exactly, dude.
Yeah. It's like I would pay, I mean, a good amount of money for, especially if it's team specific, right? I would pay, that amount of money for season pass for that team, but don't like don't black it. Like, this is just ridiculous. It's just, the commercialism of sports is like there, of course. So that's the tower you're fighting against. But
exactly.
That's why the streamers, shout out streamers out there.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next week you got a movie, I got album. Why don't you intro the movie first?
Are you ready for this?
Oh God. Am I?
So I don't know. Well, so I want to. Well, this movie is movie 2 in a 3-part series. Now, there's a couple of options that this could be, but this is going to give you plenty of time to go back and watch the first one and possibly rewatch this one to set us up for July. But this movie is the prequel to X. It is the film called Pearl. It's on Amazon Prime. I watched it last night and I was like, oh yeah, this is time. So I cannot wait to talk about this. I'll leave it at that. We got a lot to talk about next week.
Cool.
What are we going to listen to?
So we are going to go back into hip hop land. All right. We're going to listen to Born Sinner by J. Cole. So his second studio album came out in 2013. I fucking love Born Sinner. I have revisited it a ton of times. And obviously there's a lot going on in the hip hop world right now. J. Cole has been in the hip hop news recently with everything going on with Drake and Kendrick. So I think it's a good time to peek in and review one of his classics. So I'll be interested to see what you think about it. So
sounds good.
Well, I am interested to see if this worked on Twitch. I'll go back and watch it afterwards. And hopefully if it does, we can start putting out feelers for people if they want to watch it when we're recording. We can post the link and get some live audiences as well. But hope you guys enjoyed. Anthony, thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm gonna end this and then just wait in the studio for a second, just in case. All right, everybody, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Yes, peace.